and his wife, Nancy. I appreciate them and I love the help of the Lord. And we got to know them a little bit. Got to eat some of her Mexican food once. She swears that we will be over there again. Haven't been there yet. But maybe it's coming. And but I appreciate them very much. And I appreciate them stopping by to see us and to worship with us as well. Can't help but think over the book of Matthew as we stop to think about the importance of the Beatitudes and the things that Jesus talked about that are very important, and they need to be important to us. As mentioned before, as we look at John the Baptist and the importance that came about by doing the will of God, and as he was baptized, that Jesus was baptized into Christ, and immediately after that he was tempted by Satan. And you stop and think about that in the lives that we live as Christians. When we were baptized into Christ, he was there, Satan was there to get us right off the bat, wasn't he? And he certainly did that to Jesus, but Jesus could overcome that by just being Jesus and realizing the importance of Scripture and doing those things that glorified God as well. And then we see as it goes on, he started trying to find his disciples. And he picked 4 of them, and then it goes into all the various sicknesses and the things that he miraculously got rid of for people. And then he starts right off the bat as he comes down and he sees a whole lot of people, and his disciples are following him, and people are following him. And he understands that he's going to sit down and start preaching to them. And I look at that and I realize the importance of when he's trying to get across these attitudes, these beatitudes, these blessed things that he has, these happy things that he wants us to be reminded of. I think in a life that we live as Christians, so many times we worry about all the things that are outside and forget the things that we have that are inside in Christ. And we need to be reminded of that as we strive to do his will. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit. We talked about that and how we need to depend more on God and realize the importance of what he's trying to get across to us. Then we looked at blessed are those that mourn and how we need to mourn at some of the things that we do that makes God feel bad about us. Because every time we sin, we're not sinning against anything else other than against God. And we need to be reminded of that. And then this morning we're going to look at something a little different. And we're going to look at blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And I think as we look at things, when we look at this word meekness, a lot of us don't really understand that. And I don't believe the people there understood it as we look at things, because they were looking for a king to come and to take care of them and lord over them and the importance of that. And they couldn't understand how a king could be that way and be meek and lowly in their mind and the things that they did. And why would he care about other people? We are looking for a king to come, and there he says you have to be meek, and blessed are the meek. And really, as I read that and I thought more about that, I could really see where they're coming from and where I was coming from. A lot of times, I don't want to show people that I'm a meek person, because a lot of times we look at the definition of meek and we're looking at something that is totally different than what the Lord wants us to look at. And we need to be reminded of that as we strive to do his will. So Jesus says the meek shall inherit the earth. And I look at that and realize, is this something that Gary wants? Because I read that and I think about as he is preaching these attitudes, these happy blessings that he gives us. Sometimes we need to be reminded that that's where we really have to go back to. Go back to Jesus' teachings that he might tell me how Gary can be a better Christian, a better follower of Christ. And so I look at these things and realize the meaning. What is the meaning of meekness? And I was not even going to say anything about the negative definition of meekness, but I thought, well, I want to talk about, the meaning of that and the negative things. I need to talk about the positive things. And so the negative things, we look at meekness as being someone that is weak. We really do, and we realize the things that we need to stop and think about. Matter of fact, if I look at meekness before the negative things, I would say that that's kind of wimpy. I would say that that's kind of lazy. I would say it's like turning the key on in your car and just letting it idle and not doing anything else and saying, wow, that was a great trip. And a lot of times I think we don't really realize the importance of that word. Matter of fact, it even means that we are compromisers. And I think it says, I just want peace at any price. I don't care what it is. I just want to be wimpy. I think that's what meekness, the negative side of things are. But I don't think Jesus is talking about that. I think he's talking about the positive side of that. And isn't it great to hear positive things in the Lord's church today? Amen. It is. It's something that we need to be. I can't help but see people that love to come in and start coming and being together as the body of Christ and showing their face is smiling because of where they're at and what they're doing. And they don't look like they're half dead when they walk in. And so we look at things and realize, well, this Sermon on the Mount is something that he wants us to really stop and think about. He says, Gary, I want you to be positive with this thing that I'm telling you. And it really means this idea of mild in temper, patient, long-suffering, a humble person. I don't know if I was to ask Patty if Gary needed to be meek, she would say, yes, you do. And I might say the same thing to her. But the Lord is trying to say, Gary, it's not just for you and Patty, it's for all of us. And the positive thing needs to be reminded of who I am. It's not what I can get, it's what I can give. It's what meekness is. So many times we need to be reminded of that. A meek person is a self-controlled person who is such because God controls the life that he lives. So I look at that and realize, well, if that's true, and I know that it is, we ought to be the happiest people in the world because we show meekness in the life that I live. And I think, I'm not a wimpy guy. Man, I'm strong in the faith in doing what the Lord asked me to do. So I look at that thing and think the meaning of meekness is just saying, Lord, here I am. What do you want me to do? I'm ready to help you any way that I can. And really mean it in the life that I live. And I think Jesus is trying to get that across to them. And hopefully he can get it across to us as we strive to do what he wants us to do. Turn over to the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 37. I think I'm going to go ahead and read, starting there at verse 1. Read to verse 11. Do not fret or fear because of evildoers, nor be envious of workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently with him. Do not fret or fear because of him who prospers in his way, because the man who brings wicked schemes to pass. cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, be only that it only causes harm. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait on the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall be no more. Indeed, you will look carefully for this place, but it shall not be no more. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. I can't help but think of how important it is that we who are weak are going to inherit the earth. And I look at things and I realize what he's trying to get across to me as we look at the book of Psalms, and how it really tells us as Christians to be happy. It really talks about happiness in that whole book of Psalms, and we need to realize that this life that we live is just short time that we have here. And that the prosperity that he's talking about here in this world is most of the time wicked. And we need to be reminded of that as we live the Christian life, that we might do the things that will glorify God in heaven. Meekness looks up to God and looks out at others. So I look at that and realize in my life, if I'm going to be a meek person, I need to look to God. And in looking to God, I need to look to others. And I look at that and I realize not that I'm going to inherit the earth in which I live in. I'm going to inherit someplace else that I'm going to be faithful to, and that's going to be to heaven. And so I look at this meekness that I need to have. And a lot of times today, I know that when I was growing up, my dad did not want me to be a little wimpy guy. Matter of fact, he said at times he told me when I was little, if they hit you, you hit them back hard. And a lot of times in the life that we live, as we think about meekness, we go back to our dad and say, well, Dad, you told me to hit him, and now you're telling me I can't hit him. What's the big deal here? And that's true, isn't it? A lot of times we hear and the world says, don't worry about what God says, just do what I tell you to do. I think Jesus is trying to get that across to the people there. No longer do what you want to do, start doing what I ask you to do. Live the life in obedience to the Lord. Turn over to Matthew chapter 11. Matthew 11. Verse 28. Says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You will find rest with your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Does Jesus want us to be meek people? Is that what he wants? You know, I look at things and I realize this is exactly what he wants. But sometimes it's not what I want. You ever thought of times where you really understood what Jesus wants you to do, and instead of doing it and being meek about it, you did the same thing you will always do? Does that happen? See people smiling, evidently it hit something. But a lot of times that's true. You know, I look at things and I realize this thing of meekness, Jesus showed a life of meekness. And that's something we need to show as well. That we might be the person that he wants me to be. He took wrong patiently. When people did bad things to him, he was still meek. I've learned a lot from that, didn't you? How many times do we do that? We like to retaliate. Well, you just wait. You just wait. I'll get you back. I'll never forget that. Well, So I look at things and I realize what he's trying to say to me and to you, and we need to be reminded of. Jesus was gentle in dealing with other people, and I need to be gentle with dealing with them as well. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes I need to look at Jesus. I remember Nancy telling me one time, we need to hear more preaching about Jesus. I remember her saying that. I thought, why'd she say that? Because a lot of times we never think of who Jesus truly is. We not only don't realize what he has done for us, but what he continues to do for us. And I look at him being the example of meekness, and me striving to be what he wants me to be. So I look at that and realize in my life, I need to show people who I am, and that being a follower of Jesus. And so many times we think, man, I just can't, I can't be Jesus when I'm out here doing this. He's trying to tell you, don't do that. You don't want to be where Jesus is not. So many times we think, oh, I'll just do it my way. Making the most of meekness. How can we do that? Turn over to the book of James. Chapter 1. Starting at verse 21. It says, therefore, lay aside all filthiness and overflow of wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your soul. I look at that and realize what Scripture is telling me is this. Gary, receive God's word with meekness. Humble yourselves. What is he trying to tell you? What are you willing to do? I believe that's what he's telling me every day of my life. What are you willing to give to others? What are you willing to give to me? And so many times we forget this attitude is being patient, is being humble. And I think he's talking to me. And I think he's talking to you. And I realize how I need to put that to life in the life that I live as a Christian. Turn over to 2 Timothy chapter 2. Starting at verse 24. And the servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all, able to teach, patient in humility, correcting those who are in opposition, if God perhaps will grant them repentance, so that they may know the truth, and that they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. I see meekness as telling me that I need to teach other people the gospel of Christ. I want you to stop and think about it, because the Lord told the disciples to go into all the world to preach the gospel. Oh Lord, you're not really talking to me, are you? You want me to humble myself? You want me to be this long-suffering person that will go and tell people about you? That's what he wants. That's what he needs to get. So we strive to do his will. Over in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, and consider yourself that you also be tempted. Is meekness important to bringing people to Christ and to keep the people in Christ? Is that our responsibility? A lot of times we look at all these things and say, well, that's Gary's responsibility. That's what we got him for. Or that's so-and-so's responsibility. But really, we need to look in the mirror and say, it's my responsibility. Isn't that true? We need to be reminded of that. can't help but think over in 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 15, where he says, "But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and always be ready to give defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear." Gary needs to be ready to give a reason for the hope that I have, with meekness and fear. All these that we've mentioned, the scriptures that we've mentioned, talks about meekness. None of it says that we're to be wimpy with it. We're to be thankful for it. We're to use it in a positive way, not a negative way. Living the Christian life. How many of you love living the Christian life? I mean, really love living the Christian life. And I do. And you know why? Because things that I used to worry about, I don't have to worry about anymore. Because I'm doing what the Lord asked me to do. I'm meek. I'm patient. I'm long-suffering. I didn't say I was all the time. But I try to be. I think that's what God wants us to do. I think that's what Jesus is trying to tell them, and in turn telling me. Gary, blessed are those who are meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And I look at these things, and I'm thinking the life that I can live as a Christian, the good things of this life. So many marriages are destroyed from lack of meekness. Think about it. So many congregations constantly have problems because of lack of meekness. So many Christians become unfaithful because of lack of meekness. Meekness isn't a natural quality that people just have. Meekness is part of the fruit of the Spirit. It's something we have to add to our faith, as he talks about in 2 Peter. And I look at it and realize that if Jesus is meek and lowly, why can't I be that? Instead of sometimes being so aggressive, arrogant, and proud of who I am and what I expect the Lord to do for me. Meekness is saying, Lord, what do you want me to do for you? That's what meekness is. Sometimes we need to be reminded of that. I think so many times in our life, and boy, I think all of us have troubles. We just read several people that are on our prayer list. And I want to tell you, there's some people that are really hurting. But we need to be meek enough to show them we're caring for them. We're showing them how great it is to be a follower of who? Jesus Christ. As I look at the Sermon on the Mount, I look at these Beatitudes, and I think, happy is Gary for having meekness. And I kind of understand that a little better. And I kind of need to realize the importance of being meek and lowly in my heart, as Christ was. You're here this morning without a member of the body of Christ. You can be. By accepting Jesus, your Lord and Savior, by confessing His name, by repenting of your sins, by believing that Jesus Christ is the Christ, being baptized for remission of sins, that the Lord might add you to His church, then you can start looking at these Beatitudes and say, man, I need to change. Maybe we're here this morning as Christians already. Maybe we are as meek as we ought to be. You know, we looked at three of those things that we need to talk about. One spirit. You know, how we need to mourn for the things that we do we shouldn't do. And I look at the sequence of these things and I see why he put meekness number 3. We need to be meek. We need to have that kind of spirit. As he goes on and talks more about the Beatitudes, meekness is real. If you're here today, you need to come to the Lord for Jesus. I pray that you come to stand.